This interview is a paid advertisement. It was produced on behalf of the company and is considered investor relations activity under Canadian securities law. All statements and opinions are those of the guest and should not be construed as investment advice. Please do your own due diligence or consult a registered investment advisor. Hello and welcome back to the Gold Newsletter channel. We are here on the floor of the PDAC in Toronto. It's the world's largest mining investment conference, and I'm joined by Steve Swatton. He's the president and CEO over at CopperCorp. Steve, it's great to see you. How are you?
Great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me back.
Absolutely. Yeah. How's the energy? Day two here?
It's amazing. It's a lot of people, and it's some new faces coming as well, ones that you don't normally see, and I've actually seen a lot of younger faces, which is nice to see. I haven't got all of the old people like me, but yeah, got a new breed coming through. It's fantastic.
Quite refreshing. Absolutely. Steve, let's talk CopperCorp. Maybe just to start us off, who are you? Give us a 60-second, 30,000-foot overview here.
Okay, CopperCorp is a Tasmanian-based TSX-listed company. We have 1,600 square kilometers on the west side of Tasmania Island. Tasmania State is predominantly a mining, if you like, friendly province. And I'd have to say that because most people think of Tasmania in maybe non-mining terms, but it has 4 operating mines, and we have an amazing property within the belt that has 3 of the 4 operating mines right now, and we're drilling at one, and I'm hoping to release the results from that location, Jukes, within the next couple of days.
Yeah, fantastic. I know you joined the company after it was founded and incorporated. What attracted you to it?
It was the land package, and also I did have one of my previous jobs was I used to be business development for BHP, and in that, looking at the copper portfolio, and even then we realized there was going to be a shortage. This was 10 years ago or more, and if you have a large land package, much like one of the directors, Norant, he realized in his property that the majors, they want a sizable land package. Now we got this continual 2 packages of land. Each of them could have multi-assets on them. So we have a lot of different anomalies, and we have a lot of different drill targets. It just requires a fair amount of capital to do it justice.
Well, size is one thing, but endowment is the other, right?
Yes,
so
exactly.
When you looked at it initially, what triggered your interest? What did you see? What's the potential that we're talking about here?
Mt Lyell is 120-year-old longevity. It's a very old mine. It was actually where, if you like, the process of liberating copper was actually invented at Mt Lyell, and it was operating for, as I say, 120 years. But the surrounding area really wasn't looked at particularly well, and there is some old workings which are from the 1920s. But other than that, there's been very little exploration done. So we basically took the whole ground south of Mt Lyell, 3 million tons of contained copper in Mt Lyell.
Yeah. You're targeting porphyry style targets, right?
IOCG, straight porphyry. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a mix, right?
Nobody's really quite sure what they are, but they're old and they're copper rich, and they got gold with it too.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it yesterday on a panel. It's like Kalgoorlie, a bit of a look-alike, perhaps. Is that a fair comparison?
Kalgoorlie?
No.
Mt Lyell.
No. Well, I'll have to edit that part. Crap. Cloncurry.
Cloncurry. Yeah,
that's what I was
the
thinking.
Other one. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Just.
So what are you targeting, Steve? What's the plan? I know a massive land package, but you have to stay focused. What's the target?
Yeah, copper gold, high grade. A lot of them have old adits on them, so we're actually looking in and around these adits. And the ones we're concentrating on right now are near Mt Lyell, but we do have another package that we talked about in another interview, which is similar to the Cloncurry district in Queensland. We've also got some high grade copper. We'll be releasing some results from that property. But that one is a little different. It's slightly older than the rocks around Mt Lyell, but it's never really been looked at. There's a Savage River iron mine, which is 300 million tons at roughly 60% iron, and we've got some copper showings around it, and in fact the largest nugget of gold ever found is from our property.
Oh, there you go. That's probably in some museum right now.
It's in somebody's pocket right now, I can tell you that. Yeah. Okay.
No, fantastic. You ran us a bit through the drill program. I know you've been drilling. You just mentioned you're about to release some results here soon as well, you hope.
Yeah.
Runs a bit through the program. What was the plan? What was the idea?
The idea is to look at the on-strike extension from Mt Lyell, and we've now drilled 7 holes, varying different lengths. We're on the 8th hole now, and what we're finding is that we're getting very, very high grade, but not as wide as maybe you'd expect from situations like in Argentina or something like that. And we got narrow, high-grade copper gold. And we do have a mining engineer as one of the directors. And this sort of material is very good for mining in that general area because it's clean, close to infrastructure, and very supportive local government. So we're just trying to drill out a resource. So we're looking at an inferred resource now, and maybe one of our future news releases we're going to put out is going to be preliminary look at one of these, which is called Jukes.
I was going to ask you, what does success of this campaign look like for you? But it sounds like a first resource estimate, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So we're trying to drill it close enough that we can actually put an inferred resource around it. And we are getting, I'd say, up to 2% copper equivalent over a sizable meterage as well. So it's looking promising.
Tell us a bit more about the history of the project. Putting a resource together requires a bit of work. So, how did you arrive at this point where you can actually talk about a resource? What has gone into it?
Well, it's in the past we had a consultant geologist who's worked on it for another company, and he put a program together for us designed around trying to put the resource, but also we do have a road going through it, so we kind of have to read strategically where we locate these drill holes. So how it works in Tasmania is if you're going to drill in a completely new area, you have to do it by helicopter, but if you're close to a known road. So a lot of our drilling has been based around this road, so it's not necessarily in the best mineralized area. So we're putting the early resource around the road, and then we'll start moving to the west, which is further away from road, maybe 200-300 meters.
Fantastic. We have to talk about Tasmania. I'm waiting for the day we don't have to explain anymore what it really is. But you already touched on it. There's some producing assets, and especially in the west of Tasmania, it is mining country, and your area is an exploration park. I think that you're active.
That's right.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, there's four mines operating in the area. Everybody either directly or indirectly is related to the mining industry in one way or another. And yes, this area has been designated as a mineral exploration resource area, if you like. Now, it contributes more than any other industry does to the GDP of the state. So either side of the political spectrum, they're very supportive of what's going on there. In fact, there was a mine, Avebury, a nickel mine, was going to come into production. It never did because the nickel prices kind of fell out of favor, and as a result, they're very keen for another company, such as ours, to find something. And they, look, Kai, it takes us 2 weeks to get a drill permit. And they also give us a fair amount of capital back on each drill hole, up to 50% of the drilling costs. This is a significant contribution to our exploration program and really helps us out when we're looking in new areas. So I find it's an amazing place to work in terms of getting things done.
Yeah, we were on a critical minerals panel together yesterday talking about the advantages as well. Maybe just to summarize them again as well, you said you get a lot of credits, you get a lot of feedback, expedited permitting. Were you aware of the, let's say, perks working down in Tasmania when you took on the role?
Perks?
And perks meaning like the positive feedback from the government and just encouragement to a degree.
Look, they realise that Tasmania is not everybody's first destination. Seems to be because WA is such a large contributor to Australian mineral resource inventory that Tasmania's rather been overlooked. So they do bend over backwards, the Tasmanian government, to try and help you. And in fact, it is to the point that there's 2 or 3 of us junior companies, another one be Stellar, another one be Flynn Gold, that we do get significant grants. So look, providing you keep spending, they'll keep giving you a tax break on it, and it's fantastic.
Oh, you're an exploration company, all you do is spend.
Right?
Run us a bit through how do you balance capital discipline versus trying to make a discovery and really advance the project? How do you balance that best?
Well, we have a pretty lean, mean group out there, very few. We have about 4 or 5 geologists. What we do is we spend most of the capital either in the drill bit or they're in the field, but we have very little overheads. We have a couple of rental. We have a Corp shack, and then we have one office in Vancouver, which I'm at. So it's quite a low burn rate per month.
If we were to sit down in 12 months' time, we meet here, same chairs, same seats. What are we going to talk about?
I guess the resource that we just found at Jukes, and maybe another one at Hydes, very close to where we're drilling right now. Hopefully that's what we're going to be talking about. But also, we do have some interesting prospects closer to that Savage River, which is the other belt, and 1 or 2 of these. But also, look, I think I mentioned on it yesterday in that other interview, we have been courted by a few mid-sized companies. In fact, just 5 minutes ago, I was downstairs and I know a senior executive in BHP, and he said, he's still working on that Tasmanian thing. Look, all of these assets, copper is so important now, will have their day. He said, stick at it.
Absolutely. No, maybe last question as well. Like, we're at $6 copper as well. The narrative around the precious and critical minerals
is incredible.
Has completely changed.
It has, and there's not a negative thing that's ever said about the copper or any of these metals right now. So I think, look, we're on a one-way trajectory, and it can only be good for companies like ours, which may be considering to have marginal or lower grade than maybe you'd expect to find in some of the bigger assets around the world. But there was a recent study done by RBC, I don't know if you saw it, it's a February report, where they mentioned that, yes, there's plenty of copper in the pipeline, but it's all been around known mines, and they've sort of squeezed the lemon, if you like. And, there's not been really much M&A activity as much as they'd expect, but there's been no investment in the junior space, and there's a huge drop-off. The last discovery of a large copper was in 2017. And, we haven't got anything new coming along since 2017, which is a while ago. But, much longer than that would be the really big ones like the Escondidas. But that one was, Freelands in DRC. But other than that, it's like really tails off. So, you've got to sit tight. You've got to hold hold the line with, where you're looking. And we got, maybe 20 or 30 different anomalies, of which we're drilling the most obvious ones. They're not necessarily the best ones, but it's a game of deploying capital, making sure that you can survive, and finding the next resource.
Absolutely. No, that's the exploration game, and then along the way you make the discoveries.
That's right.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful place to work, actually, Tasmania. It's like compared to, also in terms of getting things done. Like California was my last destination. I tell you, that's a much harder game, but great rewards as well. It's much easier to be working somewhere where you're welcome.
Yeah, well, two weeks to get an exploration permit or a drill permit is unheard of.
It's lightning speed, isn't it? Yeah,
unheard
it really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Steve, I wish you all the best. I really
you.
look forward to seeing the results come out. Hopefully in the next few days. It'll be exciting. And really appreciate you joining us here on the floor of PDAC.
Yeah, thank you, Kai.
Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.
And everybody else, thanks so much for tuning in. Just a quick update here with Steve Swatton from CopperCorp. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us out tremendously. And we appreciate it. So thanks so much for doing that. And we'll be back with more from Toronto.